So if you have shoulder pain when you're pressing weight overhead, when you're bench pressing, whatever you're doing, if you have shoulder pain, we don't want to miss out on strengthening the rotator cuff. And a lot of people think you're just doing these exercises where you're doing these rotations here, you're doing them here, which is working the back side, but we don't want to miss the front side. So check this out. So exercises like these seated shoulder rotations are amazing at strengthening the muscles in the back. However, it's missing these muscles in the front. And what I mean by this is these rotator cuff muscles, most of them sit on the back of our shoulder blade. And when you're doing that, this dumbbell seated rotation, that's where we're hitting it. We're hitting these guys. It's your infraspinatus, your supraspinatus to an extent is going to be there as well. Your infraspinatus, your teres minor. And sit in the back of the shoulder blade here. And as you bring your arm overhead, these muscles help keep your shoulder, the shoulder joint from bang, 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 from these two bones abutting each other, hitting each other. This is our big deltoid muscle, this guy here. It rolls the shoulder up, and the rotator cuff slides it down so it keeps you from getting the shoulder impingement. The problem is, what we tend to miss is on the front side, actually I'll show you on this one just because it's closer to you guys. We also have muscles on the front of our shoulder blade. It's called your subscapularis. Actually, it's just one muscle. It's one big muscle, sits on the, you kind of see it because there's no muscles here on the ribs, but it sits on the inside of the shoulder blade, and the shoulder blade actually floats here. But when this muscle contracts, it does the same exact thing as the muscles in the back, where as your arm goes overhead, it glides it down. It keeps this this head of the humerus on the essentially the golf ball and the golf tee, helps it from rolling off of it. But if this is really strong in the back and the one in the front is pretty darn weak, well then the one in the back might actually pull it a little bit excessively, and we can still get a little bit of the shoulder impingement. And actually, fun fact, the subscap muscle is the most used muscle when you bench press. So bench pressers and power lifters, this muscle is massive on them, and we got to make sure this thing is strong. They're definitely on power lifters, but anybody who's pressing weight, push-ups, weight overhead, we got to make sure this guy's strong. So here's how we're going to work on it. So the easiest way to start to work on this is just a banded internal rotation. So you grab a monster band, tie it to the rig here, arm out in just 90 degrees, and it rotates, slowly control the way back. When it rotates, slowly control the way back. I love controlling on the way back. We're not speed demons here. We're going nice and easy. This is going to help hit that subscap. And sometimes you'll see this, how people do this guy, and they'll rotate this way. You can do this one. The problem is your pecs and lats will really want to kick in. When you're in neutral here, when this elbow's close, the pecs and lats are very, very active. When we bring it out to 90 degrees, and just make sure we face this way, that pec and lat, they tend to get turned off. So it's a little bit easier to get that subscap in this position. Now, my favorite exercise to strengthen the subscap is called a subscap press. And I learned this from an Australian powerlifter. I'm blanking on his name, so I apologize. I believe Andrew Locke, I think this is the guy's name. But shout out to him. But what we're gonna do is, actually we'll use no weight. With no weight, you want this monster band, right? Just cut at a 90-degree angle, just tied to a squat rack, tied to a treadmill. The goal is I'm pressing overhead. This band's trying to rotate me out. My subscap has to kick in to keep my arm nice and neutral, straight up towards the ceiling. I'm gonna get a little bit more this way. Slow and controlled is the name of the game. A great way to target the subscap. If you're like, hey, this isn't too bad, Matt, you could get a heavier monster band, but what I love to do is grab it's a 25-pound kettlebell, the weight that you want to use. Slow, 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 slow. You can also bottom up if you want. That's a heck of a challenge. Go for it. That'll hit the subscap a little bit better as well. I can try it. It's gonna be tough. Oh, we can do it. But really go slow on the way down, and it's tough. But again, the subscap press, one of my absolute favorite exercises to do with patients where I'm like, hey, we're working on the subscap muscle. It tends to be forgotten about. These external rotators are amazing, don't get me wrong, but we do not want to forget about our friend the subscap. But again, if you're bench pressing, if you're doing a lot of pressing exercises, it is the most used muscle when you're bench pressing. So if you're a power lifter, it's definitely beneficial to give it some TLC, because sometimes our shoulders get a little bit rounded here, and that subscap gets put through the ringer. So if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like it, and I will see you guys later.